When people start working on lowering their blood sugar, they want to see changes overnight. So we're going to talk about how quickly you can expect A1C to start coming down, coming right up. So, a quick recap on A1C. Hemoglobin is a protein in your red blood cells. The more sugar you have in the blood, the more of it sticks to the hemoglobin in the red blood cells. We measure a percentage, which is the number that we see on A1C. So that's the mechanism. But how quickly the numbers change depends on how long the red blood cells live. The beauty of the test is that it measures an average over about 3 to 4 months of the lifespan of the red blood cell. I went looking, and the only information I could find on how long a red blood cell lives said that it's about 120 days. So for this example, we're going to use 120 days, or 4 months, for our calculation to understand. If a red blood cell lives for 4 months, then that's going to influence how quickly this changes, because it's an average over 4 months. We're going to assume a starting point of a blood sugar of 200. This means if you maintain a blood sugar of 200 for a while, you're going to have a measured A1C of 8.6. Then we're going to assume that you're going to drop it down to 90. Someone who has had a blood sugar of 90 for quite a while is going to have an A1C of 4.8. So the fastest this could possibly happen would be 4 months. Theoretically, if this isn't going to happen, but let's say that you went on an all-out keto diet and intermittent fasting, and somehow you managed to drop your blood sugar overnight from 200 all the way down to 90, it would still take 4 months for your A1C to go from 8.6 to 4.8. So that's the absolute fastest that you can do it. The only way that it would happen faster would be if your red blood cells don't live as long. If your red blood cells live for 2 months, then you could pull this off in 2 months, provided you could drop your blood sugar overnight, okay? That's not going to happen, but this is going to be different for different people. So just keep in mind what the mechanism is, and there are going to be individual variances. We're going to look at a time period in months. So we start at time 0, and then for every month, we're going to look at how this changes. Let's assume for this example that we can drop the blood sugar by 8% per week. We start off at 200, the next week it's 8% lower, then it's 7, 5, and then it's a little lower. After a month, you're dropping at 7% per week. After 2 months, you're dropping at 6%. We're just assuming that it's easier to get the changes to happen quickly in the beginning, because you have such a large number to work off of. If we start at 200, then after 1 month, dropping by about 8% and down to 7% per week, you would have an average blood sugar of 146. Some people could do this a whole lot faster, but assuming that you're really insulin resistant, and you're not ready to go into full-blown multi-day fasts right away, then these could probably be realistic numbers. Again, some people will go faster, some people go slower. After 2 months, your blood sugar would be 111. After 3 months, it would be 90. So at this rate, it would take you 3 months to hit your target blood sugar of 90. Now, let's look at what happens with the A1C. If you maintain 200, then you get an A1C of 8.6. This means that the new red blood cells that are born at that level are eventually going to end up with an A1C of 8.6. The blood cells that are born at the level of 146 are going to end up with an A1C of 6, 7, and so forth. But this blood cell is going to be measured together with a bunch of older blood cells that were swimming around in a much higher glucose concentration. By the time we measure the A1C, if we measure it initially and it's 8.6, then we measure it a month later, it's only going to have dropped to 8.3 because this new red blood cell is going to be mixed up with 3/4 of blood cells that lived before we started this procedure, before we started changing our lifestyle. Even if we can drop our blood sugar to our ideal in about 3 months, it's going to take a full 7 months before we hit the 4.8 that corresponds to our new blood sugar level at 90. I just wanted to show people this, to give them a realistic expectation, so that you don't go running off after 2 months and say, "Oh my blood sugar is so low. My A1C is still high, why isn't this working?" It is working, but that's the mechanism of A1C. The value of the A1C is that it measures your average. But the drawback is that because the blood cell lives for 4 months, it's going to take a while. You're not going to see the full effect in the A1C value until 4 months after you have hit your desired level. At the end, it's going to change faster in the beginning, and then toward the end, it's going to be relatively slow. So even though you hit a 5.2 here in month 5, you're still going to be 2 months off of hitting that 4.8 A1C that corresponds to that low blood sugar. Today, it's really easy because you don't have to order an expensive blood test. You can buy a little gadget for $20, and then you can buy the strips that are probably maybe $1 or $2 each. You could check this yourself, but don't waste your strips and check it every day because it will be a waste of time. I saw a search term on Google that was, "How do I change my A1C overnight?" And I had to laugh because the answer is you don't. There's no point in measuring this every day. Measure it every couple of weeks maybe. But you're still not going to see too many changes. So if you're curious, go ahead and measure, but realize the time frame that we're talking about. If you have tried this, if you have experience with this, please share your results. I'd love to know. Some people can do it faster, some may take even longer. Just realize that it is a process, and it doesn't really matter how long it takes. As long as you do the right things, you will get healthier. So please share this video. There are lots of people that need to know good information about health. Share it and help them get healthy as well. Thanks for watching.